Abdelhamid Abaoud, Islamic State militant and suspected mastermind of the Paris attacks, was killed in a police raid yesterday. Last week's bloodbath in Paris has renewed focus on whether such an attack could happen in the United States. Joining me to talk about this and other topics is FBI Special Agent Darrell Foxworth. Darrell, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
There are reports that the people who organized the attacks last week used encrypted data. FBI Director James Comey is calling on law enforcement to get more access to encryption technology. What does the FBI have access to now vis-a-vis encryption, and what do they not have access to?
Well, what you're talking about is what we call going dark. And going dark refers to our ability to lawfully collect and intercept communications through a court order, a subpoena, or some other type of lawful order. After 9/11, what we saw is that we were able to take a court order from a federal judge or a subpoena to a communications carrier and ask for specific records and lawfully obtain that information because they had the capabilities to provide it. Now what's happening with the evolution of technology is that we go to a communication carrier, we provide that lawful order to them, and then they tell us that they don't have the means to provide it just because of the technological capabilities, or they haven't built in capabilities to provide that to us. So it's of great concern to us because it impedes our ability to conduct investigations, to collect the intelligence and the evidence that we need in these cases, and hope and prevent possible terrorist attack. What I'd like to say though is, number one, at this time we don't have any specific credible information that there are any threats to San Diego or to the United States, but that's constantly evolving and it's changing because we're always evaluating the threat information that's coming from these different groups. And what you see happening is that as we get this constant stream of information, you will see different law enforcement agencies maybe changing their security posture. But nevertheless, we don't have anything that's specific or credible.
Now, technology experts say, though, that if you build an encryption system that allows law enforcement access to it, it will weaken the system and expose the personal information of citizens to foreign countries and malicious hackers. Is that a legitimate point?
I'm not sure. I would imagine that there should be capabilities to protect that information so that only when they're compelled to provide it through some lawful means that they provide it, as opposed to that having it some type of open system. So I would think that we should be able to develop a capability so that information can be protected, because they're not only talking about your information, they're talking about my information, and we value the privacy of that information. I think we all value that. But when it comes to a lawful order, which says that there's probable cause or that there's some reason to provide that information to law enforcement, then we should be able to get that, and that's what we're asking for, is a capability to provide it in those circumstances.
Now, the New York Times reported this morning that there are about 36 people in the United States of having suspected ties with ISIS, but they don't belong to any particular cell, and they haven't traveled to Syria. Given that, how challenging is it for law enforcement to stop a terrorist attack by one of these people?
Well, the challenge is that you have these individuals out there that could become radicalized. And what we're talking about is that we see these terrorist organizations using social media, using the internet to spread their information, their propaganda, and they're being very effective at doing that. So what we have to do is we have to recognize that and try to change our response to that. Number one, what we're doing when it comes to that is that we're trying to work with our local counterparts, local law enforcement agencies, government agencies, and non-government agencies to get out there and basically change that message and make sure that the people that are being targeted with that message, that they get the truth and basically understand that this isn't something that you want to get involved in.
I have two very quick questions. There was a San Diego resident who was killed fighting for ISIS back in 2014 in Syria. Are there any people in San Diego suspected of having ties to ISIS? And is San Diego any more vulnerable to a Paris-like attack than another city in the United States?
That's a very good question. The FBI, we have 56 FBI field offices across the country, and we have over 100 joint terrorism task forces. And I can tell you that in each one of those field offices, Director Comey stated on the record that in each one of those 56 field offices, we have some type of terrorism investigation going on concerning these foreign terrorist organizations. The threats that we have here in San Diego are similar to what we have in other parts of the United States, but each one, it can be a little bit different because we do have an international border here that can make it attractive. We have military here. So the bottom line is that the threats that we face here in San Diego are similar to other places across the country, but by working with our Joint Terrorism Task Force partners, we're able to share information to hopefully identify, disrupt, and dismantle any type of attacks that may be plotted here in San Diego. And they've been very successful in the past with that.
Darrell Foxworth, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.